Welcome to the stage, CBI Director General, Carolyn Fairburn.
Well, welcome back, everyone. I hope you managed to have a cup of tea, piece of cake, and catch up with some old friends and some old colleagues. So now is the time in the afternoon when we're going to consider technology and how business can be transformed through the adoption of technology and new technologies in particular. But before we welcome our guests, let's hear once again from our young people and what they think about the impact of technology on the workplace and future jobs.
I think technology is one of the most important things because it's always evolving. So I think if the company doesn't evolve with the technology, it'll be very hard for it to sustain itself and to do the simple things well, like make profit, make their customers happy.
I feel quite nervous about the fact that everything's speeding up now. This great sense of urgency isn't great for everyone staying calm, but I do think that in the same way that technology will evolve to be able to handle this, so will the workforce.
So this session has proved to be popular year on year, where we bring two people together in conversation. And please welcome to the stage now our interviewer for the next session, business writer and media consultant James Ashton, and Emma McGuigan, Group Technology Officer for Accenture. Welcome to the stage.
Thanks, Carolyn. Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be here. This session offers a glimpse of the future. How can businesses thrive by adopting next-generation technologies, and crucially, how can they do it by working together? Shortly, we have two pairs of businesses who will tell us how they're working together. You know the ATP tennis is on next door at the O2, so it's very much our version of mixed doubles this afternoon. Before we get into that, to set the scene, I'll hand over to Emma McGuigan, who is Accenture's Group Technology Officer.
Thank you very much, James. So, technology or magic, fear or fortitude. At the turn of the last century, Thomas Edison conducted an experiment where he attached a rubber tube to his forehead and the other end to a pendulum to see if he could control the movement of the pendulum using his mind. Some people thought it was a bit crazy. Over a century later, Rodrigo Mendes drove a Formula One racing car around the Grand Prix track in Sao Paulo. That car had no steering wheel, no gear stick, and no pedals. He controlled that car with his mind. The magic was courtesy of an emotive headset, which can track brainwave patterns and churn those brainwaves into signals to control a car. Doesn't seem so crazy now. Emotive headsets, voice-activated devices, commonly known Alexa, controlling all of those gadgets in our home, biometric gates, self-piloted drones depositing packages to our door. It's like the stuff of Harry Potter. And these innovations, they're bold and they're daring, and they transform our expectations as citizens, and they transform the opportunity for us as business leaders to tap into that technology innovation. But we need bold and daring leadership if we're going to tap into the value. But when we do, we can create new customer experiences which surprise and delight our customers and leave our competition playing catch-up, and like any good magic trick, wondering how we managed to do it. But disruption is not an illusion. Just ask the retailers and the department stores in the high street, having seen many of their competitors disappear. The waves of technology innovation don't look like they're slowing. Who'd have thought 10 years ago that we'd be using common parlance like Ubering and expecting a car to turn up at our door within 2 minutes, or DMing, which my 12-year-old had to explain to me yesterday, which is how he communicates with his friends. Tomorrow, the reality of human augmentation is real. We already see patches that we can apply to people to help them manage their insulin levels, as worn by the Prime Minister and many thousands across the country. Not far behind is the implant of chips into our brains to help control conditions like epilepsy, improving the health conditions of individuals. And I'm sure it won't be long before we have augmented digital assistants helping replace our smartphones. So with all that pace and scale of change, why are we as business leaders struggling to tap in? I was in the US last week with a number of clients, one of whom told me that improved customer experience doesn't drive revenue. He then told me that he had, in his business, nothing to fear from the platform companies. But as people, as consumers, the platform companies have transformed what we expect. We expect Netflix to tell us what we should be watching next. We expect a car to turn up from the drop of from a command on an app, and we never expect to see cash to make the payment. We expect to be able to switch bank accounts or mobile providers because they don't offer messaging services, and the regulators have helped that transformation happen. In the last decade, Google, Amazon, Salesforce, and Netflix have joined the S&P 500, whilst other household names like Wendy's, Radio Shack, and Toys R Us have disappeared. At the pace of change, the S&P will see a 75% turnover in names by 2027. Frankly, the pace is pretty daunting on a good day, and on a bad day, it can be bewildering. At Accenture, we decided we'd do a bit of a survey. We like to gather data. We like to look and see what's happening. And we took a look to see how many British businesses were being disrupted, either today or were susceptible in the next couple of years. So 56% of British businesses are already disrupted, and 40% are susceptible to disruption in the next 2 years. So if you think about that in the context of this room, that's pretty much all of us, except for those couple of back rows there. I think most of you got your heads down, maybe on a platform company, maybe checking your Facebook. So, and the industries which are feeling it most: software, electronics and high tech, and retail. Round the corner, we know it's coming for the automotive industry, for infrastructure, for transport, and for our utilities. Yet 80% of our chief strategy officers reckon they're not fully prepared. Before we dig into that a little bit, what are we talking about here when we talk about technology innovation and disruption? Is it about blockchain changing the way we manage procurement? Is it about AI-powered care changing the way we manage call centers and bringing bots and natural language processing into the way we run our businesses? Or is it about gathering data like our genome demo we have over there, where we're looking at human performance and the impact of emotion on how we perform? If we think about what we could tap into if we could drive these things successfully, it's all of those things, and we have to tap into all of them, but at the right point. We have to be able to pivot at just the right moment so we don't throw away the existing businesses we have. If we can demystify and harness that magic that tech can provide us, we could go beyond just a business-critical issue, and we could really help the people who depend on us to make good decisions so that them and their families, our employees, and the broader workforce have a future. So why do we think we're not prepared? There's 3 areas that our survey pointed to that I want to explore. The first is people, the second is performance, and the third is failure. We all know about people. We've just had a whole panel exploring the need to diversify our talent. But we can't be scared of the fact that technology we need to encompass it and adopt it. 60% of people surveyed are actually not at all scared of technology. They're not going to run away because they think their jobs are automated. They think it's going to help them, provide them with a future. But it's going to be painful for us as business leaders to help our workforces rotate, to reskill. But it's our responsibility to help them have those skills, to help them find the right support and preparation to equip them to succeed. We need to create cultures, not of adopting technology faster and faster, but of helping our people think about how technology can elevate them, to allow them to be more creative and innovative, and create organizations which are flatter that enable them to be successful. That means we've got to look at ourselves, because we're going to have to change the way we lead, the way we educate, and the way we reward. So the second topic I want to touch on briefly is performance. It's often cited that quarterly performance stops us really taking big risks because the markets don't like surprises and they don't like changes. But I go back to that S&P list. We know if we don't respond, we won't be here to worry. Let's look at Microsoft. In 2014, Satya Nadella became their new CEO. And after many years of share price stagnation, in the last 4 years, the share price has tripled 3 times. You may not remember, but in 2014, Microsoft was synonymous with an operating system known as Windows and a proprietary phone hardware. He turned that around into subscription-based technology solutions. That meant disrupting the business model, it meant taking bold leadership decisions, and it meant working with his people and rewarding them differently and tapping into the tech that could help him do that. Many of his peers didn't manage to do the same, and their share prices haven't moved. Thirdly, then, failure. Business transformation is expensive, it's difficult, it's tricky, and it takes time. How do we know we won't overspend? How do we know we'll make the right investments? Maybe we're asking the wrong question. What if we don't ask, how do we keep doing what we're doing with this new tech and just let it do it a bit better? What if instead we ask, how can we reimagine what we can do with these technologies? That needs a new mindset. We need to think differently. Edison, he had the fortitude to never give up. It took him 1,000 attempts to get a working light bulb. So how do you get that mindset? Who's leading your organizations today? Who sits on your boards? That's 60% of people who think technology is part of their future. Do we bring young people? Is it really risky to bring young people to our leadership teams? Is it really risky to think about bringing technologists to our leadership team when we've always had them working on the shop floor? What about people from other industries? Maybe this isn't so scary, but there's one thing for sure. It's not one person who's going to transform. We need to learn to collaborate, and we need to let people feel rewarded for that collaboration. So whilst the change is daunting, the potential is high. We've heard several people talk about that potential today. And I say this, if we can make this successful, if we can really tap into what technology can bring our businesses and transform our business models, it might just be the greatest magic trick of all. Thank you very much. Thank you.